Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends Podcast, the podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. Before I introduce my guest, I want to remind everyone that I'm running a competition where you can win a 45-minute Zoom session, one-on-one with me, to discuss your business. It could be something about your team. It might be marketing. You might want career advice, or you might want to talk about my favorite food, hamburgers. The topic is basically yours to decide. So to go in the draw, all you need to do is leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And at the end of each episode, I'm going to take a random winner, and that's who will actually win the 45-minute Zoom session with me. So you need to listen to the end of this episode to find out if you've won, if you've already left a review. So now let's get on to my guest today. Today, I am joined by Josh Taylor. Now, what's interesting about Josh is he's an accountant and a farmer who is now a podiatry student. And as of last week, he just finished his second year in podiatry. So Josh, welcome to the Podiatry Legends Podcast.
Oh, Tyson, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And it's really weird that we were talking off air that I've just been preparing for an upcoming marketing workshop, and I was going through some old slides, and Craig Scooth, who I think was on episode 28 in the Podiatry Legends podcast, when he was on there, and then him and I were doing some stuff together, and he said, I got this email from this guy from Rebel Sports who heard my podcast and now has started sending patients to me. And his name was Josh Taylor. And it was really funny when I knew you were already booked on the podcast, and I went, what's the chance? So then I went on to Facebook, did a bit of stalking, found out you still work part-time at Rebel Sports. And I went, not a coincidence. And it was you.
It was me. Yeah, no, it's so funny like that, isn't it? And, that's one of the beautiful things about the podcast is it connects, other pods who, either listening or, guests on the show. Like I've also contacted, pods in the UK and, around Australia as well. And it's thanks to the podcast. And
people you've heard on the podcast?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's right.
That's what I want people to do. I want students to listen to the episodes, hear a podiatrist, they sort of go, wow, I really like this lady or this guy, and reach out to them, because nearly everybody I have I'm yet to have a knobhead on the podcast. I haven't had any knobheads. It's a wanker free zone.
It is.
And because most of the people I invite on, I know something a little bit about them already, and they've got something interesting, which is why I want them on the show. Same reason I wanted you on. And so I want people, when they hear them, to go and connect with these people, because they are really, they're all really nice people. So they're open arms, which I think is great.
It's really good, because before I even started studying podiatry, I had the plan on the holidays. I'm going to go to the UK, go to other parts of Australia, go to the US and, call up these people and try and say hello and, get to, learn things. And obviously that hasn't been possible with COVID-19.
Yeah.
So your podcast has really, helped facilitate that online though.
Yeah. And I have heard a lot of people have made connections through the pod, even guests who have been contacted by other guests because they're listening to the podcast as well. So let's get back on to Josh Taylor. So you just finished second year podiatry. And some people might be thinking, why do you have a second year podiatry student on the Podiatry Legends podcast? Why not, is what I say, is because what I like about students is enthusiasm. When they're starting podiatry, they're quite ambitious on what it is that they want to do in the future, which I think is great. And in my marketing workshops, I talk about these 5 steps that you go through. And I just think it's important for people to hear what students are thinking now. Because last year I actually did a student episode. That's right. Where I just had Polish students from around the world talking. So this year's one is just to talk to one particular student.
I'm honored it is me. Thank you so much.
So how did you go? So you were studying accountancy when you finished that?
Yeah. So straight out of school, studied commerce, and I went straight into an accounting job as a grad role in Brisbane. And, I'd love numbers all through school, that kind of thing. Like my parents had, run their own business. So we're used to seeing, spreadsheets and numbers and that kind of thing. And I thought, all this hard work for, the first 21 years of my life. And now I'm at the gate and ready to go. This is my career. And I hated it. It was literally awful.
What did you not like about it?
First of all, you felt just like a number. Like even from when you got on the train in the morning to go into the city, you could see everybody, like nobody looked happy. You were like just in the rat race.
Yeah.
And then you got there and, no one wanted to help you because everyone had to bill every 6 minutes of the hour. So if they thought they were helping you, then they were missing out on their time. I was probably used to living on the farm as well. And, being in the city, it was completely different. But
when you say a farm, when you say you're on the farm, whereabouts was the farm?
When I was little, the farm was at Redbank, which is halfway between Brisbane and Ipswich.
Yeah, I used to play football against Redbank.
Yeah.
They were green and red from memory.
Yeah. No, they are. So accounting just unfortunately wasn't for me. So I tried to stick with it for a little while. And I worked in the bank as well, moved into I did finance and accounting. So I worked in the bank for a few years as well. And, finally thought, I'm not happy. This isn't the career that I want. And at the time I thought it was a disaster, as a 23, 24-year-old, and you think, I'm going to be too old to go back and study. What am I going to do? And in hindsight, that's so silly. But my parents at that time said, look, you're not liking this. Why don't you, we're so busy on the farm. Why don't you come back, work on the farm?
What were they farming?
Initially, when I was little, it was a piggery.
Yeah.
Had like 4,000 pigs.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like mum and dad there. And they were 7 days a week, worked Christmas Day, worked, the hardest workers you'll ever meet in your life. And so while I was an accountant, I still worked at Rebel on the weekends because I loved it so much. Then when I worked on the farm, I was on the farm 5 days a week. And then to have my break from the farm, I would work at Rebel again, Saturday or Sunday. I really loved that. And then, sort of working hard, and I still felt like, something like missing in my life. And that was to have a real passion for what you were doing. And I think that's, so essential in what you do because, you're going to spend a lot of time in your life at work. If you want to be successful, you have to be passionate about what you do. Because even when you're passionate about something, there are going to be days that are so hard, but, that's the thing that gets you through. And I realized my favorite part of the week at that point was working at Rebel and helping people in the footwear section. I had a couple of mantras, and it was, I don't sell shoes, I sell an experience.
Yeah.
And, people would drive past other Rebels, to come and see me at mine because I'd never push anything on them. It wasn't always the most expensive shoe is the best one for everybody. It matched the shoe to the person. And it didn't matter if I was, serving 1, 2, 5 people at the same time. I wanted them all to walk away and feel like they were the only one. And I was doing that on the weekends. And then I realized at nighttime, like I'm doing things like listening to your podcast or like reading about like Simon Barthold and who started like the Keanu Asics shoe or, Steve
So had you listened to was the podcast going before you started podiatry?
It had just started the year before.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'd left a review very early on your podcast and said, I've just been accepted, into
Yes,
podiatry.
I do recall that. Yes.
Yeah. But it was a big risk. I was like 30 at the time when I decided.
Is that a hint that I should just make you the instant winner? No, I can't. I have to make it random.
Maybe the runner-up prize.
Yeah, runner-up. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So, but when you're, I was 30 at the time and I thought, well, it is a risk to start from scratch again. Would I be able to get back into the study? If I do something, I want to do it properly. I was working with my parents at the time. I didn't want to disappoint them. That added a whole other element, to all of that. But then I went to my GP just about a sore back. And I was just talking to him about it. And he said, well, you know what, in 4 years' time, you'll be 34, no matter whether you study this now or not.
Yeah, that's that's what I tell people that too, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny that like after he said that, I heard you say it on the podcast as well to someone. And it's so true. And sort of, the last 2 years just flown by. I mean, I'm having all.
Oh, you broke up a little bit then.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, no, it just broke up for a little bit. So you just said, so the last 2 years have gone really, really fast. I'll tell you right now, the next 2 years go even faster.
I bet. Yeah. So like sort of moving into more of the clinical side of things, sort of this year, and then, the next 2 years, a lot more time in the clinic and placement. Before you know it, I'll be a practicing pod.
It goes really fast. Like when I went through, it was only 3 years, but they enjoyed my company, so I hung around for an extra year. But even that 4 years, and I really enjoy. Actually, learned more in that last year than I did in the other 3 put together. But it was just, it just went so fast. And you think when you're first starting, oh, it's going to take so long to get out. And most people listening to this have already gone through that process, so they know that. But I think if there's other things that you want to do in podiatry and you go, oh, this might take me a couple of years to go and do my master's, or I've thought about doing a PhD, just do it, because you're going to get older anyway. So you may as well do it. And I do have some regrets by not taking things on that I wish I had have done, but I just kept putting off because I think it's going to take too long.
It's one of those things, like hindsight. No time like the present. Yeah.
When they say when's the best, it's an old Chinese proverb or something. The best time, I can't remember what it was. Something about planting trees. It's something about some big tree, and the best time to plant a tree is today, and the next best time is tomorrow, or something like that. I'm going to edit that out. That was crap. It'll stay like I said, it'll stay in the video part, but I'll take it off the audio. That was just ridiculous. So anyway, has podiatry lived up to its expectations so far in the 2 years?
I really think it has. In the first year, it didn't really seem too much like podiatry. You're doing the very general, like anatomy, physiology, that kind of thing. But moving into second year, it's really much more like you imagined it would be. I go to QUT in Brisbane, and there's a great bunch of like lecturers there. Only too happy if they see that someone is engaged and happy to put in the time, like they're happy to invest it back into you as well. And I think though it's an advantage in a lot of ways, being say a mature age student coming into podiatry and having previous experiences first, like I know that I want to be there. I know
100%. I remember when I was at uni and you look at the mature age ones who were say 30 and you're thinking, what's this old man doing in our year? And some of them weren't. They were probably around 30. But when you're 18, people who are 30, just like, shouldn't you be at home with your feet up in a slipper and pipe? But they all had, every mature age student I went through with had a really great attitude. You never saw them fail a subject. They put in the work, and they had families. They had part-time jobs. They had commitments. And here we were, 18, 19, drinking too much, chasing girls, or if you're a girl, you were chasing guys probably, but we were hoping. And all you really had to do is just study a little bit, and they were the ones that were failing.
That's right. And like the beauty of it is, I don't feel like, say, I'm competing with anybody else. It's just you're on your own journey at uni. So if someone else does well, if someone else wants help, you're happy for them. You're happy to help them. And like in the second year, I was asked to, tutor some of the first year students, which is really good. Like, you're getting paid to learn the material again and teach it to others. And, if you can teach something to someone else, it helps.
Actually, they pay you to do that, do they?
Yeah. No, it's such a good job. I love it. I hope
cheap buggers when I was there. When I went back and had to do that extra year, it was just one subject I had to do. So pretty much, one of the lecturers came and said, since you've already been, can you help the first years? Yeah. And since you're already here, you got nothing else. Can you help the second years? Can you help the third years? I went, yeah, okay. So I spent at least 20 hours a week where I was just on the clinic doing stuff, and I didn't have to, got paid nothing.
You got paid in experience.
I did though. It was one of those things. That's why I say I learned more in that final year, because I had nothing else to do. I just said there's one subject I had to get through. So I thought, well, I'm here. I may as well just be on clinic and do what I can. And I saw and did so much more in that particular year. Nothing beats experience.
No, that's right. And I think they really make, the clinic sessions, it's quite scary when you go into the clinic and it all seems, like it's really intense. But from some of the other recent grads, they've told me that they feel really prepared after being at QUT to be in the real world. Is that what your experience was? Like, how did you feel as a new grad? Because you sort of started.
Straight
off that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, back in the old days when I graduated, it was a different world. So there weren't a lot of podiatrists around. A lot of the jobs, there weren't a lot of great jobs around either. And I enjoyed the sports, the biomechanics, the orthotics. So to find those sort of jobs, there wasn't a lot on offer, and they were just taking the cream of the crop. Some of them were the cream of the crap. Yeah, they great marks, but they weren't really good at what they did. But because they had the best marks, they're the ones that went off to all those jobs. So some of the work that was out there wasn't what I wanted to do. So I was working on a chook farm at the time. And I went, I'm making more money on the chook farm than I am as a podiatrist. So I set up my own clinic, and I'd work on the chook farm from like 5 a.m. till 9, and then I'd zip off to my clinic. And that's how I financed my clinic, was working on a farm. So not that I'm a farmer, furthest thing from a farmer. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of jobs on offer. So my advice to anyone who is well, you've got to do a lot of placements now. We
That's
didn't.
right.
We had no placements. There was 0 placements. I think for any student, by the time you get to your 3rd year, you probably know what you like and what you don't like in podiatry. Now, you've still got to, I think it's important that you've got to know all of it. You've got to have a really broad scope and experience in everything. But if you sort of know what you really like, try and target your placements in those particular areas. And even when you graduate, hold off until you can get a job in a clinic where it's offering you what you want to learn more of, because that's what's going to keep you in the profession. Not, if you're not really into general work, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, you don't want to be visiting 3 or 4 nursing homes a week, sitting on the floor, and then coming back to a clinic, not being allowed to see biomechanical patients because you don't have experience yet. And you're not going to get it if you don't do it. So
That's right.
That's my tip.
That's one of the things that I found difficult about accounting, was there were no practical placements. Like over one of the summer holidays, you could apply for internships if you wanted to, but that was just off your own bat. You didn't have to. So when you got into the real job, you didn't know what you liked. It was, whereas in podiatry, you get so much, like 1,000 hours practical experience. So it's much better this way, I think.
I think it's important to experience all aspects of podiatry, because you might think you don't like general foot care, but once you actually get into it and you realize that even this general foot care, there's so much scope just in that area that you might find there's something that interests you. So like, I don't like ulcers. I'm not an ulcer person, if you've heard any of my podcasts. But just recently, I was on the Wound Doctors podcast, which won't be out until next year, I think. But of all the people to get on, me, to talk about wounds, but they want to be on there because they wanted to hear the negative aspect of it, why I didn't like wounds. So, but you might think you don't like it, but then if all of a sudden you're exposed to a lot of it, you might go, my God, I actually love this. So that's why I think it's really important. You've got to experience everything and try the things, even the things you don't think you're going to like, because you never know.
That's right. You might surprise yourself. It's, like I really enjoyed the, say, biomechanics subject, maybe because it was very like numbers based, that kind of thing from doing accounting. But, it's like surprisingly not many people seem to, gravitate towards that subject as much. Everyone, there's like horses for courses.
Yeah. You might enjoy nursing home work.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I've got a joke. What's 100 meters long and smells like urine?
A running track at the hospital.
Yeah, no, line dancing at a nursing home. But that's so wrong. Sorry. If I have offended anybody, bad luck. So, but you might really, really enjoy nursing home work. And I know there's people that visit nursing homes and they really enjoy it. And when I first started, I did a few nursing homes. Some of them were great. Some I enjoyed, some I didn't. Not good on your back though.
But it's true what you say, because in, say, this last semester we've been seeing what we call general patients, like general nail care, callus, corn, debridement, and I actually I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing those patients too. My very last patient, it was week 13. As we were leaving the room, she tapped my shoulder and said, thank you for today. It was a lovely experience. It was actually really good timing because she said that right in front of the lecturer. I didn't even pay her to do it. But you just get a lot of satisfaction, and I just find it so easy to talk to the patients while you're doing things, and it takes the pressure off you. They enjoy it. There's a nice vibe in the room. And
that's the fun of general foot care. When some people go, oh, I don't like general foot care, but there's some actually really, really good aspects to it where you can have some great conversations with people. And a lot of those people, when you do that foot care on them. You remove that cord and they stand and they go, I'm pain free. The smile they have on their face makes you feel good. So, and that's why I say I never, when some people say, I just absolutely hate general foot care, I never absolutely hated it. I just preferred doing other things. But I still had my favorite general foot care patients that I used to see.
That's right. You look forward to seeing them, and they'd look forward to seeing you too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just basically fun. So with what's been the hardest thing in podiatry so far for you?
Oh.
Has there been any area you sort of got, wow, this is more difficult than I thought it was going to be? Or are you just, one of those smart cookies with your accounting degree that just is breezing through?
I think for me, it's just finding that balance. From when I was in, I went to a good high school where the teachers cared about you. Like when I was in grade 11, my biology teacher called the house, and I actually answered the phone, and he actually told me a furphy on the phone and said, I'm just here to, talk to your mum and dad about your assignment. It was really good. And so I was real chuffed and put mum on the phone. And he was actually telling mum, can you just take the pressure off of Josh? And mum said, we're telling him to ease back as well. So, for me, it's just making sure you do get out and about and not just, focus so much on the study, which, it's good. I sort of enjoy other things, say I'm always trying to get on Ninja Warrior. So it's good to train, for that. And it's a bit of
I say you look like a rugby player.
Oh, I think I've been bulking up this semester, just sitting down, eating snacks, but I like to keep physical as well. And, I think if you want to be like a podiatrist, and especially sort of where I'd like to go in the sports side of things, you don't have to look like the honey badger, but if you look the part a little bit, it sort of adds to the whole, if you play sport and that kind of thing, you can relate to the patients better.
I think so. It's hard to be giving a run. Yeah, I was given advice once, never take dietary advice from a fat doctor.
That's right.
So I think if you're a podiatrist and you want to be in that sports area, you've got to maintain some form or some type of physical fitness and be in some form of shape. See, I when I'm wearing certain shirts, I still look fit. Just don't take the shirt off.
Are you still doing the martial arts? Is that you?
Yeah.
That was your thing, right?
Yeah. Still doing that. I'm getting too old. 55 now. I'm getting too old for all that. But it's just aches and pains every time I do it. But it's so much fun. Which is why I keep doing it. So with while you're studying, so would you say working at Rebel Sports has also been a benefit to your study so far?
Definitely. At first, I think being at Rebel helped the podiatry, but now that you're learning a little bit more about podiatry, that's also helping on the flip side back in the store. I sort of get patients to walk, say patients, my customers, walk up and down, sort of do a little bit of an assessment on them, how they're going in the shoes. And even when you just, because I'm just chatting with my, customer as you're there and selling them the shoes, you tell them that you're, interested in, footwear because you're studying podiatry and that's why you started it. And they seem to respect you more because they can tell you're really passionate about it. And, there was a certain week where in PodMed, the subject was footwear. Yeah. So it was great just having a conversation with the lecturer, and you're saying, you need to widen a shoe if someone's got a bit of a wider foot. There's these lacing techniques that you can do, and it really goes hand in hand. I think I'd rather be, say working at Rebel compared to say other retail jobs while I'm studying. Just the other day,
it's great.
And it helps you talk to the patients when you're in the clinic as well, because you're used to just having a yarn with the people as well.
Yeah, definitely. Out of all the people I've ever employed over the years, every single person that came and worked with me who had worked at either the Athlete's Foot, Rebel Sports, Sportswear, one of those type places, who then came and worked with me, were by far the best new graduates I'd ever had. So Haley Patterson, if you're listening, yes, I am talking about you. and then I had other people who came and worked with me who their job was cleaning the cinema at night when everybody left, spooky stuff. And they were horrible. They were really hard to train. Their communication skills with people just weren't there. Whereas I feel when you're at Rebel Athlete's Foot, you're so used to just communicating, which I think is really, really important, that they don't teach enough of it at uni. Oh, and you mentioned too about lacing techniques. Just to give a little plug, in January, it'll be on my it's on my website now, that I've got someone coming in from a shoelace company in Japan who I'm doing a webinar on the history of shoelaces.
Oh, wow.
Which should be fun. So yeah, the details are on my website. So go tysonfranklin.com, click on events, and in there I've got a webinar section, and I'm trying to do a series of webinars over 2022 that are just going to be a little bit more interesting. So yeah, the history of shoelaces. So anyway, back to you. So with Rebel, you're learning all this footwear stuff. You're actually applying that at uni. Then you're learning stuff at university, and you're applying that back. What's your plan when you graduate? When you finish, and I reckon there'll be a lot of future employers listening to this now going, oh, who's this Josh guy? I want to try and get him. Do you want to stay in Brisbane?
I guess that's the initial plan. But if a really good opportunity came up, I would be willing to move as well. The plan would be to, try and find a really good clinic where they're, willing to invest time into a grad, because I'm willing to invest in their clinic. If ever I've worked somewhere, I treat it like it's my own business. And then, that way, you can tell some people they work for someone, and you can tell that they work for someone. Whereas, if I work somewhere, I treat it like it's my own, and you're putting in your best effort. So if
I'm picturing it right now, as I'm watching you on the screen, because we're on video, is if this was like a live feed at the moment, we were talking and there were a whole pile of podiatrists listening to this, I'm seeing all these hearts come up the screen and thumbs up. That what you said then about wherever you work, somewhere you work there, like it's your own business, even if it's not your own business. And that is a skill that I think new graduates need to realize. You're not just an employee. Pretend it's like your own business, and give 100%. Give a little bit more than 100% if you've got it.
That's right. And I guess that's been drilled into me from when I was little. Like, my parents work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You only get out of life what you put into it. And like for me, I really like, sports, the biomechanics, MSK. If I could get into some kind of clinic, that facilitates a lot of, patient care like that, absolutely love it. And so that's the goal, just to get into a really nice clinic and keep growing as a pod. Is under no delusions that you're going to know everything when you graduate, but as long as you recognize that and you show that you're willing just to keep learning.
You'll know enough to get yourself. You'll know enough to get yourself in trouble. No, but the thing is, you'll get out of uni and you've got a lot of knowledge. The thing is, you've got the knowledge, because I think they teach you quite well at uni. So you've got the knowledge there, but you don't have the experience on how to apply that knowledge. And sometimes it's, do you apply it on this person? Do you not? And that's what comes with experience. And that's why if you've got skills in a certain area, you don't want to lose those skills. So you need to make sure you're working somewhere where you may not be doing that 100% of the time. Might only be doing sports and biomechanics 20% of the time, but you need somewhere where you can keep applying those skills, get better, work with someone who has been doing it longer, and they can teach, they can help you at the same time. What you don't want to do is get a job somewhere where you're doing 99% general work. They're not letting you do anything else, and you're going to lose those skills over a period of time. So employers, if you're listening to this, you need to make sure that you expose new graduates to everything. Let them keep their skills up. Don't put them in a box.
No, there's only way to learn. I guess it's like Wolf and Davy's law. Like, you use it or you lose it.
That was my goal. I had a 3-month program written up that whenever I had a new graduate start with me, by the end of 3 months, I could have a new graduate pretty much up to the same speed as someone who had been with me for 5 years. And I just had it all stepped out, and we'd tick the boxes off as you went through. And at the end of the 3 months, sometimes they were better than the person that had been there for 5 years. But then it made the person that had been there for 5 years lift their game as well.
That's right. And I think, if you, as an employer, if you're good to your staff, then they're going to want to stay. And, is that good saying, like, what if you teach someone and then they leave? Is what if you don't teach them and they stay? That's the situation.
Yeah, was it Tom O'Toole? Tom O'Toole. Tom O'Toole. It was Tom O'Toole that said that, because I know that I remember listening to him speak once. I saw him speak once, and he said it used to be just Tom Toole, and everyone used to call him Mr. Toole, dickhead. They used to call him all these different. So he changed to O'Toole, and all of a sudden, all the insults stopped. But I remember him saying that people are concerned if I teach them, they'll leave. And what happens if they leave? But what happens if you don't teach them and they stay? It's even worse. And I would much rather have someone come and work with me, and when they leave and they go and work somewhere else, all of a sudden you get a reputation for, my God, you train podiatrists well, or you train receptionists well. So my old clinic up here in Cairns that I sold, all the podiatrists that worked at my old clinic now work for somebody else in town. And I bet he's glad that we did the training for him with him.
That's right. That helps your reputation as well.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Same, it's the same with everything. Like my parents now, they have cattle and miniature horses, and they would have, arguably the best miniature horse stud in Australia. They've like imported a whole heap of.
What do you do with a miniature horse?
Yeah, like lots of things, Tyson.
What do you do? What do you do with a miniature horse?
Well, you
don't race them. Do you put midgets on there? I can't say midget anymore. Can you put little people on there and race them?
Yeah, kids.
Okay, kids. Yeah, let's work with kids.
For pets. There's like the show circuit. Breeders for the genetics.
Yeah.
And they could pull you or I in a cart for 10 Ks as well. No problem. And it's the same as that. Like you breed these horses. And then, you can't keep all of them as much as you'd like to. So you sell them, and then some people would think, oh, well, what if that person buys the horse and then, beats me at the show circuit? But you'd rather be getting, the good genetics out there, and people know that you bred that horse. And it's the same, as an employer with the clinic. Yeah, absolutely right.
Oh, like if you were Black Caviar or Winx or Maccabi Diva, those racehorses were sold on to somebody.
That's right.
Who got them for a really good deal and then made millions of dollars from them. But the people that bred them, once again, they get the reputation for breeding really good horses. Or at the stud. When you love to work at a stud farm. What do? I work at a stud farm. They go, obviously. My God, we went sideways then. So what with the next 2 years that you're planning, like you said, ideally you stay in Brisbane, but you'll travel somewhere else. But have you thought about, would you travel abroad? Would you go overseas as well?
I actually have a UK passport as well. So that's always a potential. I do have some family over in the UK, but I think, if possible, ideally I would like to stay in Australia. But, even if it was for, traveling, working holiday, and, I think you could learn a lot from, the pods in the UK as well. I listen to their podcast as well, and like go to the foot and ankle show.
Oh, that's awesome.
It looks awesome. Yeah.
It is really, really good. I think one of the best things students can do too when they graduate is don't put blinkers on and think, oh, I must go to the Queensland Podiatry Association conference, because it may not be the most exciting conference, and you might look at all the topics and go, oh, it looks a little bit boring. It could be. But you might think, oh, should I go to the national one? Well, have a look and see what's on offer. But look at some of these other conferences. Once we're allowed to travel, Foot and Ankle Show in Liverpool is the duck's nuts of conferences I've ever been to on that side of things. If you're into business, top practices in the United States that I've gone to, that is right there at the top. So there's a lot of events out there that have got nothing to do with associations that are really good. But still see what the associations are putting on. Don't rule them out. And don't feel that you have to join the association. Like if you don't want to join the association when you graduate, then don't join. If you want to join, but don't feel pressured into it.
No, I think if you, learn from a lot of different avenues, it's only going to help, podiatry in Australia as a whole as well. You can bring things that you learn from the UK or the States, and, bring it back here. It's, because that would be like my goal is, for podiatry to get more and more respected over the years. And I think it's, trending in the right direction. And, hopefully, just obviously like study ridiculously hard and keep doing that and networking. And I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, the networking is really important. Like you said, you've already reached out to people that you've heard on the podcast. I think there'll be a few people that will be reaching out to you after this episode comes out that'll want to stay in touch with you. But as you get closer to graduating too, stay in touch with me, because I do know a lot of podiatrists around the place here, overseas, and I know the type of clinics that they have. I know the type of people that they're looking for. So, I will be able to sort of help guide you in a certain direction. I'll probably
Yeah,
have more podiatry friends after they hear this episode because everyone will want you. Are there many students like you? Like if you, this is what I used to do. I would employ someone, say for yourself. And then when you started with me, like say Haley Patterson, when you were with me, and I said to Haley, if you were employing someone in the year behind you, who would you pick? And Haley went, oh, well, I think such and such is really good. And I'm thinking, well, if I think Haley's good and Haley thinks they're good, that is a really good recommendation. So I'd go and approach that student way before everyone even got into the whole poaching, not in the poaching, into the recruitment drive, that I would have already contacted them to see if they were interested. So are there many students that are in your year that you would say are as keen as you? Now, remember, your friends are listening. Or in the years behind you? Do you know the first years at all?
Yeah, like from when I was tutoring them, so I'd know cohort and then as well. So it works out nicely.
So you don't have to give names, but do you reckon there's a good group of people that have got the same mentality as you that are all coming through?
Yeah, I think on the whole, like you're always going to get like a spectrum of people, but overall, like a really good bunch of people. And I think future podiatry is in good hands. Like the lecturers are really good, and that helps. And there are always those who really want to be there and really strive to get ahead and learn as much as they can. So definitely I'd be recommending some other people as well.
That's good. So if people want some inside advice, they can just contact you. And I actually think
feel the goods.
And you don't do your business subject, I think, until the fourth year. I think you do a business subject.
There is like into the workforce, sort of subject, I think, as well. Is that a fourth year?
Yeah, no, because I have written to the university. I did it for a couple of years. Every year I wrote to every university around Australia, said, hey, I want to come in and talk to the final year students. And I need a cricket noise on, and what normally happened? Oh, no, didn't get that. Hang on. I'll get the right sound effect here. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, that's the response I got from the university, that they didn't want me to come in and talk. Hurt my feelings. Actually, they didn't even laugh. I got no response at all, except for except the one on the Gold Coast with Paul Butterworth.
He's been on your podcast too.
Yes, because Paul is cool. So Paul and I get on. So I did a video for his final year students that he plays for them each year, just about transition into private practice, I think it was called.
Yeah, no, and that's you need to know that that's something that's probably not taught as much because there's so much podiatry related content that's technical, but say the into practice, the business side of things, like even before I started, like I bought the right hand side book that I can see behind your shoulder there.
It's no secret there's money in podiatry if you haven't got a copy.
No, I really enjoyed it. I also bought Dr. Peter Wishney's book.
Oh yeah, Peter and I are friends.
Yeah, and I think if you're interested in the profession, you should be try and do these things in your spare time as well. And it doesn't always come naturally, say for me, to be reaching out to say someone like yourself or these other clinics, but you put yourself outside your comfort zone and you're not going to regret it.
Well, the interesting part, like university is there to teach you to be a good employee. That's pretty much what it's there for. They give you the basic knowledge. They give you enough knowledge to go out there, do a good job, and be a good employee. And then it depends where you work. You build the experience up from there. So even though we talk about it'd be great, I think more communication subjects would be great. But even though I love business, and I'm going, it'd be great if they had more business subjects. In all honesty, they're not there to teach you to be business people.
No.
So even though I take the piss out of them all the time about not letting me come in and talk, realistically, they're not there to teach you to be business people. They're there to teach you to be a good employee, get a good job, get experience, then work for yourself. And then in that spare time, you should be learning to become a better business person.
Yeah, and if you're interested in that, you're going to make those opportunities, by yourself as well.
Yeah. So out of all the insults I've made about the universities over the last 100 and something episodes on this podcast, don't take it to heart. I was just joking.
You're just angling so they invite you back.
Oh, now they're going to go, now Tyson's a nice guy. No, they won't. They won't invite me because I'm a loose cannon. They don't know what I'm going to say. Even though I know exactly what I'd say. But yeah, like I said, they've got their set format. They know the business subject. When they had the business subject when I was there, and it was fun. I really enjoyed the process. So they've got the format and what they want delivered, and they probably don't need a lunatic coming in and opening everyone's eyes too wide, thinking, oh, what, you can do all that? Hang on, you've just opened my mind too much. So anyway, I carry on too much on this podcast. So before we finish up, have you got any parting words that you would like to share with everybody listening to this, whether it's especially to people who are currently studying podiatry? And
Sure.
and I do have people that listen to this podcast who are not podiatrists, who actually are starting to find podiatry really interesting.
No, I bet.
What's your final tip?
Well, say firstly, for someone who is in a certain career at the moment and it's not for them, don't feel bad about it. You recognize that. Try and find your passion. It's not too late. And then when you get into that career, just give it your all. Things don't just happen just by, making that decision to start something. You have to stick with it. And if anyone is studying podiatry, I'd really encourage them to reach out to pods in the area, even while they're studying. Even if you say, hey, I'm a first year, I'm a second year, can I please come and shadow you? Could I please have a chat? Everyone that I've done that with, more than happy to share their experiences and their knowledge, and they're just really happy that a student is wanting to do that. So just take the bull by the horns and give it your all, because if this is what you're going to do is your career, and make the most of it, be the best you can.
Yeah, well, I reckon most podiatrists in the podiatry profession are nice people. There's a few bitter and twisted ones, but and they're at all levels. It's not just they're the people that have got like a really average podiatry clinic or below average. There's people who have got PhDs in this profession that are still bitter and twisted. But I think majority of podiatrists in the profession are really, really nice people, all trying to do the best they can, and they're there to help anyone that actually asks. So just reach out. And if somebody says no to you and rude, just tell everybody else who they were. So everyone just avoids them, because they're the places you also don't want to work.
That's right. It's going to be a good experience to you either way. You find out now that's not where I'd like to go. It's just not a personal thing.
Okay, so Josh, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast. And if people want to find you, they can just look up Josh Taylor on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
People will hunt you down, stalk you at night.
Absolutely.
So Instagram, you're Josh_Amos_Taylor.
That's me, a bit of an unusual middle name, but I actually like it.
Amos, yeah, I don't mind that either. I saw that and I'm thinking there has to be a middle name. You wouldn't just make up Amos. So Josh Taylor on Facebook, on Instagram, it's Josh_Amos_Taylor. So Josh, thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tyson.